All right, guys, we're back with the Screen Team. I'm being joined by Steve Lewis for this next review, and we've got a movie called Silence of the Lambs. Maybe you've heard of it. It came out in the early 1990s. It was one of those rare films that won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. And I think only 2 films have done that. Silence of the Lambs, and It Happened One Night with...
Clark Gable.
Clark Gable, thank you. So this is a pretty elite movie. And Steve, Silence of the Lambs, was this a movie that you saw in theaters, or was this a movie that you saw on home video back in the day?
The first time I saw it was in a movie theater in Cape Girardeau, yes.
What was your first reaction? Did it just scare the living daylights out of you? Or?
It was, of course, I'm sort of jaded in horror films. You know, I can take some horror films without getting overly scared. What I actually remember about that theater experience is the sound was out of sync with the video, like a fraction of a second.
Really?
And I've wondered if maybe they did it on purpose. I think subsequent showings have proven that they didn't.
Sure.
But it gave this stilted uneasiness to the whole thing that sort of fed the vibe of the movie.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's a good. It's not really scary. It's more tense, suspenseful.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't a lot that. You know, it's not a jump scare kind of movie, but it's some good terror in a different kind of way. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins plays Hannibal Lecter, and why is he in prison? What does he do? What did he do?
Hannibal the Cannibal. Yeah, he's been in prison for a number of years.
Yeah.
Been taken out of society because he's a serial killer.
He's a bad dude.
He's a serial killer. And interesting, you know, Anthony Hopkins won a Best Actor award for what's really a supporting actor performance.
He was only in it for 20 minutes or so?
Yeah. But his 20 minutes or so is so memorable.
Right.
The scene where Jodie Foster's character, Clarice Starling, first meets Hannibal Lecter. He's in jail.
Yeah.
She's on the prowl to try to hunt down a different serial killer, Buffalo Bill, played excellently by Ted Levine. And she's actually an FBI recruit. She's a trainee. You know, she's in school to be an FBI agent. And somehow she gets this great break.
They just throw her right into the mix, man.
Go interview this other serial killer. See what you can find out about him that can help us with this case. And that scene, that 6 minutes of the conversation between this protective glass between Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling is, I say this without reservation, I believe that 6 minutes is the best exhibition of 2 actors playing off one another that I've ever seen in movies. He is so cunning. He is so intelligent. You know, PhD in psychology, very talented physician in his own right, in addition to being a serial killer who eats his prey. And he dissects her in 3 minutes. He looks at her. He listens to her voice. And he's got her whole life story just like that. And she is doing her best to hold her ground. You know, she's green at this. She wants to make a good impression on him and on her boss in doing this little task that she's been assigned to. And she's trying to be professional. But she's basically just picked apart. And it is so beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Just that moment.
In the next scene with those two together, I think it was in the second scene with them together, but you see this great shot by Jonathan Demme, where you see Jodie Foster. She's sitting on the ground looking into Hannibal's cell, and you see Anthony Hopkins, or Hannibal Lecter. You see his reflection in the glass right next to her, physical self, and it's just such a great shot. You know, a lot of people are terrified and scared of Anthony Hopkins' performance, but the more I watch it, the more I appreciate his performance. And I'm like, yeah, that's really great. But the performance that really scares me is Buffalo Bill's performance.
Ted Levine,
because
that is that almost ruined his career. Because
did it really?
He I mean, how do you bounce back from that kind of a weird kind of character?
Yeah.
He played Captain Stottlemyre in the Monk series.
Okay. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and thankfully that came along for him because he was kind of floundering there for a while.
Sure.
Trying to get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to cast Buffalo Bill in a movie? You know?
Well, when you're seeing Anthony Hopkins' character, all you're hearing is dialogue of how bad of a man this is. With Ted Levine's character, you're actually seeing what a bad man this guy really is, and it's just
he's a frightening character.
It's terrifying throughout the entire movie.
And his lair, that basement of a pit that he has
Yeah.
with the well down in the bottom of the basement, and he's got the girl down in the bottom of the well.
Yeah. It rubs the lotion. You're like, oh no, stop, man.
Ooh.
Just stop. Just stop, all right?
Put the lotion in the basket.
Put the lotion in the basket. Such a good movie, and of course, you'd mentioned Jodie Foster. Jodie won her second Academy Award for this performance, and she was outstanding.
The only actress to win 2 Best Actress awards before the age of 30.
No kidding. I did not know that. See, this is why we have you on the show.
The Accused 3 years before.
Wow, man. Talented.
Yeah, she was great.
Talented young lady. Do you still enjoy watching it? Is this...
I do still enjoy watching
I do too.
I love it.
I do too.
I love it. Can't get enough of it.
Movie's called Silence of the Lambs, and of course, if you haven't seen it in a while, definitely give it a revisit. It's one of those classics, and it was one of those that was inducted into this year's Screen Team Hall of Fame, and we're glad to have it a part of it. Steve, thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
We got more reviews coming your way next, right here on the Screen Team.